Hello, cooking enthusiasts. First off, a big thank you for all the birthday wishes on my last little video. Today's video is again going to be more of a research notes style video as opposed to an actual recipe, this time related to making a flavored dairy spread. My goal was to make a flavored dairy product somewhere in between a thick yogurt and cream cheese with some mixed results. This was heavily influenced by some of the work done by the blog Ideas in Food, and I chose Kefir as my culture base. I chose Kefir because I'm not really a huge fan of most buttermilk cultures in terms of taste, and I think for this application, yogurt is a bit finicky, requiring heating and incubation. The great thing about kefir is that it just cultures at room temperature and you can kind of just let it sit there. Now, if you wanted to make something flavored with an herb, a spice, or an otherwise very powerful aromatic that you could just add a little bit of, this process would be pretty easy. However, I wanted to try fruit flavors, vegetable flavors, and a few other things that required a relatively large proportion of vegetable to kefir. My other challenge is that, again, I wanted something thick, almost like a spread. If you would be fine with something liquid for either smoothies or even like a salad dressing, this would again be relatively easy. So the first big breakthrough I had was using already strained and thick kefir as my starter. You just take some of your original kefir and drain it however you can, like with many layers of cheesecloth, or my favorite, a mesh bag. The basic ratio I worked out is between 300 and 500 grams of fruit or vegetable, roughly 1.2 liters or 5 cups of milk, and roughly 200 grams of already thick kefir. By using already drained kefir as your starter, you offset some of the moisture that's going to leach out of your fruit or vegetable. The basic procedure is pretty simple. You slice or chop your fruit or vegetable into relatively thin pieces and then add your milk and your thick kefir. I find it takes only a day at room temperature to ferment, and I wouldn't go much longer than that. What I then did was drain the entire mixture from a sieve to separate all of the kefir from the chunks of fruit or vegetable. Once you separate the chunks with a sieve, they should be relatively flavorless, so you can probably toss them out. And underneath, you'll have a relatively liquid kefir product that again you can use as is or try to strain further. Similar to making the thick kefir in the first place or making thicker yogurt, you can use cheesecloth or anything similar like that. I, of course, used my centrifuge by pumping the very runny flavored kefir into the centrifuge. I was able to get a lot of whey extraction and a buildup of the thick flavored kefir in my centrifuge rotor. But the final challenge, no matter how you strain your kefir, is that sometimes the flavors you really want end up in the whey and not in your thickened product. There is not really any way to tell whether a certain flavor is going to end up in the whey or in the thickened product, so you kind of just have to try it. Right now, I'll just go over some of my failures and successes. Asian pear kefir was pretty disappointing. A lot of the flavor kind of fermented out, and I suspect other pears and maybe even apples would be pretty similar. Radish kefir actually tasted pretty good, but the strained version wasn't as flavorful, so if you want to try that, definitely don't go through the secondary draining process. Blueberry kefir was the most successful fruit flavor I tried, and I suspect other berries would probably do well. In this case, the whey didn't end up with much flavor, and it was mostly in the thickened portion. I also made a kimchi-inspired kefir with fresh chili, garlic, ginger, a little bit of radish, a little bit of carrot, and a little bit of Asian pear. Sort of a crazy combination, but the result was really spicy, but still pretty delicious. But definitely the biggest success was a roasted onion kefir. Literally just 600 grams of white onions sliced, roasted dry in the oven with no oil or salt until they looked very brown, and then infused into the milk and kefir. After fermenting and processing, both the whey and the thick spread were super flavorful. Basically, the best French onion dip you can imagine. I'm sure I've only scratched the surface though. If you have any questions about my technique, please let me know in the comments, and definitely let me know if you give making a flavored kefir product a try. If you enjoyed this video, please consider sharing and subscribing. Otherwise, thank you for watching.